I woke up with a jolt. My heart was pounding, and I could feel the sweat on my forehead. It was as if my body knew something was wrong before my mind could catch up. I sat up in bed, trying to shake off the remnants of a disturbing dream that I couldn't quite remember. Something felt off. The usual city noises were gone. The hum of traffic, the distant chatter of early risers, even the occasional bark of a dog, all of it was missing. It was as if the city had been wrapped in a blanket of silence. No car horns, no distant sirens, just an eerie silence. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl, that makes you feel like you're the last person on earth. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I went to my window and looked down at the street. The view that greeted me was unsettling. The street, usually bustling with life, was completely deserted. Not a single car, not a single person. Just empty sidewalks and vacant roads. It was deserted. Not a single car or person in sight. The city that never slept seemed to have fallen into an unnatural slumber. I felt a chill run down my spine as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. This was not right. This was not my city. The vibrant, noisy, chaotic city I knew had been replaced by a ghost town. It was as if I'd stepped into an alternate reality, one where life had simply ceased to exist. Where was everyone? I turned on the television, hoping for an explanation. Maybe there was some news, some emergency broadcast that could shed light on this bizarre situation. Static. I flipped through channels, but there was nothing except the white noise of a dead broadcast. Each channel was the same, static, static, and more static. It was as if the entire world had gone off the air. My phone was useless too. No signal, no internet. I tried calling, texting, even checking social media, but nothing worked. It was as if I had been cut off from the rest of the world. A wave of nausea hit me. I was completely cut off, alone in a ghost town. The isolation was suffocating, and the fear of the unknown was starting to take hold. I needed to find out what was happening, and fast. This couldn't be real, could it? Stepping out onto my building's fire escape, I could see the emptiness stretched far beyond my street. The entire city seemed to be in a state of suspended animation. It was like someone had hit the pause button on life itself. Parks, playgrounds, streets, all empty. The places that were usually filled with laughter and activity were now silent and still. This wasn't a blackout. This was something far bigger, something I couldn't even begin to comprehend. The scale of it was overwhelming, and the implications were terrifying. Fear started to creep in, cold and unwelcome. It gnawed at the edges of my mind, whispering dark thoughts and worst-case scenarios. What if I was the only one left? What if this was the end? I had to find out what happened. Most importantly, I had to find out if anyone else was out there. I couldn't be the only one. I wouldn't accept that. With a deep breath, I stepped out into the empty streets, determined to uncover the truth. The silence was deafening. It was as if the entire world had taken a collective breath and then forgotten to exhale. The usual hum of life, the distant chatter, the honking of cars, all of it was gone. The city felt like a ghost town, a place where time had stopped. The city that never sleeps was in a deep, unsettling slumber. Neon lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the empty streets. Billboards that once advertised the latest trends now seemed like relics of a bygone era. It was as if the heart of the city had stopped beating. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the impossible. How could a bustling metropolis turn into a desolate wasteland overnight? The questions swirled in my head, each one more perplexing than the last. Was I the only one left, or were there others hiding just as confused and scared as I was? Had there been a warning I missed, some kind of evacuation order? I scanned the empty streets for any signs, any clues that could explain this eerie transformation. The emergency alert boards were blank, the newsstands filled with old newspapers that offered no answers. My gut told me this wasn't a man-made disaster. Nature was slowly reclaiming the urban landscape. Weeds growing through cracks in the pavement, grass overtaking once busy parks. It felt like the city had been abandoned for years, not just days or weeks. This felt different. Like something from a science fiction novel, the kind where an inexplicable event changes the course of humanity. Dust-covered books in empty libraries, abandoned bookstores filled with tales of dystopian futures. It all seemed too surreal to be real. A fast-spreading virus, perhaps one that wiped out entire populations overnight. The headlines on dusty newspapers hinted at outbreaks, but there was no clear indication of what had happened. Empty hospital hallways and deserted clinics suggested a medical emergency, but the silence was too complete, too final. Or maybe something even stranger, a cosmic event, some invisible force field that simply erased everyone. The sky held an unusual glow, as if the cosmos itself had played a part in this mystery. The eerie atmosphere made it hard to dismiss the possibility of an otherworldly intervention. The possibilities were endless, and each one was more terrifying than the last. My imagination ran wild, conjuring scenarios that ranged from the plausible to the fantastical. Each theory brought with it a new wave of fear, a new layer of dread. I had to stop myself from going down that rabbit hole. The more I thought about it, the more paralyzed I felt. Sitting alone with my head in my hands, I knew that giving in to panic would be my undoing. I needed to stay grounded, to keep my wits about me. Panicking wouldn't help. I needed to stay focused, stay alert. Every sound, every shadow could be a clue. I had to be cautious, to move carefully through this abandoned world. My survival depended on my ability to stay calm and think clearly. My survival depended on it. I gathered what little gear I had, preparing myself for the challenges ahead. Determination set in. I would find answers no matter how long it took. This silent killer, whatever it was, wouldn't claim me without a fight. Food and water, those were my top priorities. My apartment wouldn't last forever. I raided my pantry, gathering canned goods, protein bars, anything non-perishable. Thankfully, I always kept a good supply of bottled water on hand. Electricity was the next concern. I didn't know how long the power grid would stay up. I grabbed a flashlight and extra batteries just in case. Next, I raided my camping gear, a sturdy backpack, a first aid kit, a multi-tool. These were now my lifeline. The city, once familiar and safe, now felt alien and dangerous. I had to be prepared for anything. Looting, riots. Who knew what chaos might erupt if others were out there desperate and afraid? The first few days were the hardest. The silence was almost unbearable. The loneliness was a crushing weight. I found myself talking out loud just to hear a human voice. It didn't matter that it was my own. I forced myself to stick to a routine. I scavenged for supplies during the day. At night, I barricaded myself in my apartment, listening to the wind howl through the empty streets. The city felt haunted. There were moments when despair threatened to consume me. But something deep down kept me going, the will to live, the hope that I wasn't alone, that somewhere out there, someone, anyone, was still alive. As days turned into weeks, a new feeling began to emerge from the ashes of fear and despair. The initial shock of the world ending had left everyone paralyzed, but slowly a sense of resilience started to take root. It was as if the very essence of humanity was refusing to be extinguished. It was a flicker of hope, a sense of possibility. The sun breaking through the clouds felt like a promise, a reminder that life goes on. Nature, in its quiet way, was beginning to reclaim what was once lost, and with it came a sense of renewal. The world as I knew it was gone, but maybe, just maybe, this was a chance to build something better. The ruins of the old world were a blank canvas waiting for a new story to be written. It was daunting, but also exhilarating. I started exploring the abandoned buildings, looking for anything that could be useful. Tools, seeds, books. Each discovery was a small victory, a step towards rebuilding. The silence of the empty city was both eerie and peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos that once was. Knowledge was power, and in this new world, knowledge would be the key to survival. The books I found became my guides, teaching me skills I never thought I would need. From farming to carpentry, each page was a treasure trove of information. I had always been resourceful, but now I had to become a jack of all trades, a farmer, a builder, a survivor. Every day was a new challenge, but with each challenge came a new skill, a new strength. The small garden I tended became a symbol of hope, a testament to the resilience of life. I even found a stray dog, a German Shepherd mix, hiding in an alleyway. He was a survivor just like me. His eyes held a story of hardship, but also a glimmer of hope. He was skittish at first, but hunger and loneliness are powerful bonding agents. I named him Scout. Slowly he began to trust me, and in turn I found solace in his companionship. He became my companion, my protector, a furry beacon of hope in a desolate world. Together we navigated the ruins, finding strength in each other. In a world that had lost so much, Scout was a reminder that there was still something worth fighting for. Free from the constraints of society, the rules and expectations that once defined my life, I had to confront the fundamental questions of existence. What did it mean to be free? What truly mattered when everything was stripped away? Should I stay put, try to rebuild some semblance of a life in this deserted city? Or should I strike out, explore the unknown, search for other survivors? The world was a blank canvas, full of terrifying possibilities, but also exhilarating potential. I realized that freedom, true freedom, came with a heavy burden, the burden of choice, the responsibility to make something meaningful out of the chaos. It was a challenge I was ready to face. One day, while scavenging for supplies in a supermarket, I stumbled upon something that stopped me in my tracks. Footprints. Small footprints, too small to be mine. They were faint, partially obscured by dust and debris, but unmistakable. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't alone. There were others out there, children. The thought sent chills down my spine. Were they lost? Scared? Alive? I had to find them. I followed the trail of footprints, my senses on high alert. The silence, once oppressive, now held a new weight. The slightest sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant cry of a bird made me jump. Then I heard it, a faint sound carried on the wind, a child's laughter.